Welcome to the Vendetta Effect.
And welcome back to Season 2 of the Vendetta Effect. And let's start by introducing our players, and we'll just go from the top. Let's start with Devin.
Hey everybody, I'm Devin, and I play Mason Hughes.
And M.
Hi, I'm Em, and I am playing Tabitha Sawyer Monroe. I'm gonna say that in the wrong order.
Esquire.
Esquire. And Rob.
Hey guys, I'm Rob and I play Spencer Harris.
And Webby.
Hey guys, I'm Webby and I play Doc.
And introducing Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat and I'm playing Audrey Harris.
Cool. So, last time when we left you all, you guys had dealt with some neo-Nazis out in Argentina. I don't know if you guys even remember. That was a very long time ago.
I don't remember that at all. Was I there?
Yeah, was that with
you were.
Dr. Freeberg?
Yep.
Yep.
And there was lots of explosions and gunfights and all sorts of fun things as you tried to rescue Was it Thomas? I think it was Thomas Markham.
Oh yeah, with the RPG, I remember that.
Yep.
That was fun.
And you guys blew up a building and all sorts of fun stuff happened.
Heck
And
yeah.
in Ham's like,
were
I have no
definitely there.
idea
I think you got
what you're
shot.
talking about. Yeah, you did get shot. And then
And then I
There was-
almost blew up the guy we were trying to save, but I
the
didn't.
last thing I remember was the when we were in Japan.
The
Korea,
samurai.
Japan.
Yeah.
This was also the same episode, the same recording
we went to
session
the
when you went to
museum.
Korea.
We went to the museum and we stole stuff.
Oh my
We
goodness!
fell down the
Okay,
stairs.
okay, never mind. I remember. I
The gunshots
remember.
obviously affected her worse than we thought.
Yeah. That Japanese robot plague got to her. All right. So, the last thing that happened, of course, was you guys took the white technological device to the president, who then handed it over to Thomas, and ne'er did you see him again. So it has been a few years. It is now 1955. We're on the cusp of the serious part of the Cold War. Things have definitely gotten a lot more messy. The Korean War is now over. We kind of skipped over that. And the agency has gotten much busier, much louder, much more active. And there are now bureaus which work within the agency to investigate various issues. So let's start with some of our people here. Spencer, what is it you're doing currently?
Currently, he was... Well, over the last 5 years, he would have been trying to learn some more languages. Probably more ancient ones, because that is what we've been running into, especially with the alien script. So he's been trying to learn that fluently and probably Latin and early Mesopotamia and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
Hanging out with his kids, because his kids are almost teenagers now.
Okay. And all right. So let's talk to Tabby. What have you been up to?
Tabby has been really going back to nature quite a bit, spending a lot of time of her free time camping and that sort of thing.
Doing all those things that you your backstory says you do, but you haven't really done in our story so far.
Yeah, definitely. Oh dear.
Yep. That's fine. And all right. And Mason, what have you been doing, or have you thought that far ahead?
I have. Obviously I took some after last time. I took some time to work on my marriage. Unfortunately, it did not work out. I did get a divorce. After that, I took some time being a training officer at some of the different bureaus. So I've been traveling around and just kind of clearing my head. and I would just recently have gotten back from visiting my daughter in Paris.
And as we now know, Doc has been trying to create zombies, apparently.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, sorry. Totally
Zombies.
different.
Okay,
Wait.
listen. Yes, it is different. I am trying to do said thing, but the higher ups within our organization and the government itself have been piling on more and more work to try to keep me from my own projects.
Fair enough. I can also promise you that at some point, probably about a year and a half ago, the FBI and CIA came to you, specifically the CIA, and asked you to set up a project in Canada working with people with mental issues, and working with various drugs to try on them.
So then I would, at least within the last year and a half, I would be spending a lot of my time split between here and there, getting the facility in Canada up and running to my standards.
And impressing the heck out of the CIA, who are very excited with all of this idea. Many in the agency have been convinced that this will be a way to break the deadlock with the Russians. So, with that in mind, like I said, there's several new people these days in the office. Because of you being away a lot, you have an assistant named George, who is in the office with you, Doc. And he is, I wouldn't say young, but he's not very old either.
What background is George from? Like, is he from another country, or is he from America, or?
His last name is Jones. He is very much from this country, America. Because me saying this country sounds hilarious. But yeah, he's American. He's from Colorado.
So his name is George Jones.
Yep.
That's a great name.
Okay, hold on. I need to put that in my notes.
Oh, M just dropped off the call. Hopefully that
George Jones.
Did I just drop out?
You did for a second.
Oh, whoops.
It's all right.
You say he's from Colorado?
Yep. If you ask him any further details, he'll tell you it's Boulder, Colorado.
All right.
And,
I want to say right now, I constantly call him Ivan.
That's fine. He's also a Korean War veteran, having served in the last year.
Okay. Interesting.
And if you really want, it can be the redhead.
My man, Grumpy Pants. I love it.
So, yeah. At one point, you see a military officer who comes into the building quite a lot these days. He is young, but looks like he's a captain in the Air Force. And he doesn't really know you guys, but you know he's been talking to Bradford quite a lot. And eventually, Bradford will call you all to his office.
Hello, Bradford.
So you guys all move into the office. When you go, that military man is sitting in the office along with a young lady with red hair and glasses. She's short, carries herself very well. Kat, how would you describe it? How would you say your character acts when she's in the company of strangers?
A little bit cautious, but, friendly towards others.
Okay. And beside her sits Zed. He is most definitely Zed. You can call him Z all you want. But as we established last time, he's British, so it's Zed.
I'm kidding.
I know. It's fine, because you all
Oh, no,
say
I
this,
have that
so.
in my dossier. Apparently, I do call him Z.
You do call him Z, I know that.
All right.
There's a few of you that do. Okay, Spencer, when you walk in, would you roll me a clever roll, please?
And if I refuse,
Too bad.
a 3.
3. Apparently, you forgot about this. Audrey, can you roll a clever roll, please?
How do I do that again?
Okay, so if you click on your character sheet, which is under the newspaper tab,
Yeah.
and open it up.
Okay,
you'll see,
yeah, got it.
Yeah,
Clever.
you'll see the dice. There you go.
2.
Cool. All right. So you guys look at each other, and when you do, it's been a long time. It's been many years, but you will both realize that you are, for the first time in about a decade, meeting your sister, Spencer.
Audrey, what are you doing here?
I could say the same for you.
Well, I work here.
So do I.
Since when?
Since today.
He's gonna look at Harris, or not Harris. What the hell, Bradford. Like, what?
Bradford looks over and says, yes, she's on exchange from the Australian government.
Doc is just going to say out loud, younger or older, and he's scribbling in his notebook.
Also, before we go on, I'd like to point out that John put an actual, like, Australian/New Zealand person on this podcast just because of me and my terrible accent, and I hate him for it.
Don't worry, I won't hold you against it.
You
I
should,
would.
though, because it'll be way funnier for all of us.
Should I just be really off-putting and be like, oh, really offended?
Yeah.
Just in
Like,
character
too.
comment.
Spencer, why are you talking that way? What's
Just
wrong?
comment how he's been in the States too long. He's missing his
Lost
accent.
his accent. Yeah, exactly. All right, so you will remember that there's about a decade difference in age between the two of you.
Right, but which one's younger, which one's older?
I'm younger.
Okay,
She's very much younger. She was a little girl when he left.
right. But we're starting to look like the same age, right? Because I'm not aging.
That's true.
Or
You are
aging slower.
definitely closer looking in age. Like, you basically look like you did 5 years ago. She has grown, 10 years in
Okay.
age since then. So she's about, well, you're in your mid-30s. She's in her mid-20s, basically.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, welcome to Hush, I suppose.
Shush.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, shush.
That-
Damn it.
Bradford goes, after all this time, you don't know the name of the organization.
It's a secret.
Shh.
He can barely hold an accent.
He's
I hate everyone. I hate you.
Looks like you might need to go on a trip to Australia.
I'm not making enemies yet, John. I'm not going to do it.
But I don't have the time. I'm constantly here or in Miami with the boys.
You don't seem like the Miami type. That's in character.
You've never seen me surf.
May I ask what boys?
My twins, Sam and Dean.
apparently he hadn't written this down.
I had it written down.
No,
No,
not
I
you.
didn't.
Him.
Doc had it down.
Yeah, Doc hadn't got it written down yet.
Now he's like, now he's trying to like figure out on the margins how to fit in the notes to keep
Yeah.
it with you. He's like, no.
This doesn't fit. Doesn't
Oh no,
work.
Doc is frantically like flipping through his pages and trying to reread things and flipping back.
I
You
have
caught him
a
off
wife,
guard.
too,
He
if
doesn't like it.
I have a wife too. If that's not on your notes.
He's just scribbling through papers now, ripping papers out of his book,
Yeah.
trying to tear at him in.
Furious that he missed that he had a family, you know?
Yeah, yeah. The reason why I've asked you all here while you're trying to sort this out is we have a bit of a problem. We have the possibility of an agent trying to infiltrate our organization. And the feeling is one of you may be targeted. So, in speaking with the Australian government, they sent an expert to help us track her down.
Oh, expert. Exactly what are you an expert of, sis?
I am an expert of. I don't know.
This is sketchy. Sketchy already.
Bradshaw looks at you and says, she's good at research and investigation.
Can't we just have Tabby punch everyone until they admit it?
Yeah, come on, that sounds like a plan to me.
No, because it's not. We don't believe they've infiltrated the organization. We have a suspicion that they're targeting one of you to be
To be what?
blackmailed, I guess would be the word.
Oh, uh-oh.
I mean, have you got Mason on intercom? Where is he?
That's true. He's not actually in the room, is he? That's funny.
I'm in my own office down here.
Yeah, he's just on the intercom, basically talking to Janet.
Yep.
Oh, dear.
Oh no, I also hired an intern. He's just running back and forth with my notes and your notes, and I'm filling out new paperwork. He's running the other way across the office to drop it off, and then you're reading it out loud, and he's running back to give me your response.
Nice.
Shouldn't we really be working by email by now?
No,
It's
because
the
1955.
It's 1955. Never mind.
We're barely at Telegram. I'm kidding. We're still on
Yeah.
Telegrams.
No,
yeah.
no,
we are
have
still
phones.
almost
Come
on
on now.
Telegram. We have phones. I know.
Yes.
I know.
Come
And actually,
on.
I mean, okay, let me think. No, that's like mid 70s. We have
Fax it.
Nope, no faxes.
no
at this stage
faxes
either.
yet.
What?
No.
No
I
way.
know. I know.
This is
Yeah,
so
there's-
old.
Yep. Welcome to the 50s. Yay.
Yeah.
We still-
Would there
we still
have
use
been an
records.
intercom?
We still use records. We got record players.
That's true, yeah. They do have tapes, but they don't use them very much, and they're spin wheel ones.
And they're expensive.
Yep, they expensive.
You fancy. You own tapes. You fancy.
Is the potential target any one of us in this room,
Yes.
or is it mainly us four? And he points at Tabby,
I mean,
Mason,
like-
and
Like, what sort of dirt do they maybe have on you, man? I mean, sir?
Menser.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, Bradley. Mr. Bradley.
John.
Bradford.
Bradford.
Yes, Mr. Bradford or John works fine.
Sorry.
He looks at you and says,
I apologize, John.
mostly they're looking for agents. And
Oh.
Zed's here mostly just so if you have any needs or necessities to let us know.
That's
However-
good because I was going to say, out of all of us, I think Zed would be the most willing to give up information.
Zed smiles at you and says, oh, you fool.
You're not very good under stressful situations, Z.
Why do you think I stay in this location mostly?
You've never
Wait,
seen him in the
wait,
field
you
like
never
I have, though.
Uh,
He's got so many gadgets, no one could catch him.
No, Tabby, I don't leave that often.
That's
I
really
take my
sad.
morning constitutional with Robert.
That's literally the saddest thing I've ever heard, Z.
He smiles. He says, well, you know, it's New Mexico. It's not that exciting.
Who's Robert?
A friend.
He starts scribbling down his notebook.
While you're doing that, the captain looks over at everyone. He says, why am I here? And Bradford says, Gary, you know why you're here, because you're involved with our special project, and we need to make sure that nothing goes awry. And these people will be critical to making sure it works out. So they know about Area 51? And Bradford responds, no, they don't. But that is part of what we're informing them about today. And the captain nods. He says, well, is there's anything else you need from me, I will be available, but I do need to get to the base. And Bradford looks over and nods and says, "You're dismissed." And the colonel, I keep saying colonel, the captain walks out.
Too much Stargate.
And Bradford hands around a folder to all of you, and it has 3 pages in it. He says the first page is a photograph of the person we think is targeting you all. We don't know her name. We only know that she goes by the name Minx, which is obviously a code name.
I mean, you know what they say about making assumptions.
Fair enough. The lady in question has blonde hair. She has, well, it's a black and white photo, so you can't really tell eye color. But she seems, in the picture that you see, she looks quite well, like sort of upper class looking. And she has very long shoulder length hair that is very curly, but not like frizzy curly. It's more like somebody.
The loose curls.
Yeah, like a loose curls.
Like the femme fatale look, the sort of loose blonde curls, that look.
Yep. Except for in the photo that you see there, she's wearing military uniform, and she has what looks to be a sniper rifle in her arms.
Okay.
Under that is a dossier which has a description of a program which is underway called the X32 program. And it is a testing facility outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, that has been set up to test special top secret airplanes and helicopters and all sorts of things like that.
What was the organization called?
It was the X32 program. The base is called Area 51. And you see a picture of a plane which has a long needle nose, looks to have jet engines on the side, and it's a very long stretched plane with very large wings. It's a very unusual airplane. And Bradford says that is our newest weapon in the arsenal, but it's still in the testing phase.
And what's the name of that? The plane?
Well, at the moment, its designation is X32.
Ah, all right.
And he looks at you all and he says, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but with the way the Soviets got the bomb, we are in the process of ensuring that we can stay ahead of them. And sometimes boots on the ground isn't enough. So we're looking at ways to observe what they're up to. The nickname for this particular airplane apparently is Dragon Lady.
Okay.
And if you look through the information, it's built by the Lockheed Corporation, and one of the first test flights is about to occur very shortly. The rumor has it that it can fly as high as 70,000 feet.
Impressive.
Yes, it's quite the weapon. Interestingly, ladies, it was actually designed by someone who you may have heard of named Clarence Johnson. Does that name ring a bell?
Can't say that it does.
Nope.
Well, he's a engineer who's fairly famous in the aeronautics divisions that Lockheed snapped up. And we've got him working on a few spy options, few plane options, shall we say.
This Minx character who is apparently after one of us.
Yes.
Does she have a military record?
Well, if she does, the Soviets have it. We don't. We believe she's former KGB or possibly current KGB. We don't even know her name for real. This picture is only in our possession because one of the CIA agents that was killed, it was found in his hidden files.
I mean, do we have any idea what purpose they would have to target one of us?
Well, I mean, knowledge of our agency, knowledge of what we're doing, some of the more peculiar things that we accomplished over the last few years. I mean, keep in mind, our agency basically began with a Soviet KGB officer and our agents fighting over photos of UFOs, or purported photos of UFOs. So they know we exist. They're looking to try and get in to our agency. Thankfully, we're fairly small and the community is fairly tight, but the reality of it is it just takes one slip up and we could give away all sorts of things. And if everything we heard about this character is accurate, in all likelihood, she is a deadly as well as aggressively good at her job.
We should be careful is the message, huh?
I would be extremely careful of the Minx. She's a deadly person and cannot be taken lightly. But be aware that we have no idea what she currently looks like. We have no idea where she is. We only have hints and suggestions that she's spent time in New York recently, and outside of that, we don't even know where she is.
Well, that's helpful.
He smiles and says, "Thus the reason why we brought you in, my dear."
Welcome to the family.
Of course, it's my job to do the impossible.
From what I understand, talking to your agency heads, that is not an uncommon achievement.
No, of course not. I've been in many projects like this.
Yes, I've heard about some of them. They're fascinating to discuss. But another time, perhaps.
I agree.
Well, don't I start to feel inadequate over here?
He smiles at you. Says, "Oh, Spencer, you've had your own opportunities to achieve some great things, and much like every agency across the world, nobody else will ever know. Hopefully."
Yeah, I mean, she does a good job. I didn't even know she worked for an intelligence agency.
You hardly even knew that I still existed.
Well, whose fault is that, really?
Yours for leaving.
You never come to visit.
Let's not discuss this now.
Fine.
No, please discuss.
It was just getting good.
Popcorn. Bradford kind of looks meaningfully at you all as if to say, "Okay, thanks, bye." Says, "You have jobs to do. Go do them." And
All right.
as you go to leave, he specifically pulls Mason back and says, "Hughes, can you stay for a moment?"
Sure can.
And
Doc also lingers for just a moment too long to see if he can stay.
Bradford looks at you and says, "Can I help you at all?"
He just closes in his notebook and walks out.
And he smiles. And Zed leaves and goes back to his area. And he says, Spencer, why don't you help your sister get acquainted with the agency?
I would be delighted.
Bradford
Why, thanks, brother.
smiles at that. And he nods as you guys leave. So as you all leave, he looks at Mason and says, one other aspect that I haven't mentioned to them is that you're probably the likely target. We are in our examinations of what's gone on in the past, based on your family situation, it would make sense. But certainly, it could easily be Spencer or Tabitha as well.
Okay. I'll keep an open mind. And
He says, just
Be on the
be
lookout.
aware.
that should be more than doable.
He smiles at you and says, I have faith in you, Mason. I would actually suggest that you take Audrey with you and head up to New York and see what you can find out up there first.
The Big Apple. Haven't been there in a while. Why not?
He smiles and says, good idea. And if you need anything, go see Zed. I will keep others busy and out of trouble.
Sounds like a plan.
And with that, he nods and sits down with that expression of meeting over.
And I'll just head on out. I'm not gonna linger.
No. You know from dealing with him that he's curt. He's not
So he's a troll.
super.
Okay.
Yeah, he's super He's not super friendly. He's kind of businesslike. He
He's
doesn't
just
want
short.
to.
He's just like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
okay.
Just do what I
Good?
tell you, and we'll be good.
And nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and then the other thing is he has utmost faith in you. Aside from your drinking issues that are pretty well known.
Actually, over the 5 years, I stopped drinking.
Oh wow! Holy cow! Okay, so
There
yeah,
you go. I don't drink
So,
anymore. I still have my
Ah.
smoking habit, but I don't drink anymore.
nice.
In fact,
Congratulations.
I know he went through the whole issue with the divorce, and then he kind of wandered for a while, and then he decided to get back in the field and clear his head. He's gotten back back in shape, and yeah, I mean he's improved, or he's back at his peak for the time being anyway.
Nice. Okay.
Yes, so
Cool. Alrighty.
he's on top of things.
Okay. So with that, we'll skip ahead about an hour unless anybody wants to do anything. Hearing nothing. All right.
I feel like
so,
nothing gagged now. I
about
feel
an hour
like when you
later,
ask that question, we can't say anything.
I assume
I'm sorry,
you're
I
back
was-
to your office,
I was-
Mason?
I was typing.
Yeah, I am. But no, I feel like at this point, it happens so much, it's just a gag now. When he says, unless somebody wants to do something, we can't say anything. I feel like we have to let it happen.
Unless, because I would have taken Audrey to see Doc's dungeon.
Oh God!
So if
It's
he,
not a dungeon. It is a lab. It is professional. It is
the
clean.
only thing keeping it from not being a dungeon is the fact that it is above ground. Well, above our
No.
ground to where we are. We're
I
underground.
was gonna say,
But
yeah,
you
you're
can't
not
have it.
above
You can't.
ground.
You can't have an underground dungeon.
No,
to
it's very
an
clean.
underground
It's
facility.
very well lit.
Okay, it's a clean dungeon. I mean,
it has shelves and a storage freezer.
Listen, okay, those are for specific things.
and
Okay,
in a torture room and tables where you dissect the people who are tortured.
listen. Where do you see torture? That's what
I
I
see
thought.
work tools
Well, okay. That's okay.
Look, we're not saying you have a problem. We're just saying you kind of have a problem.
I like how you're already at the newbie's office there, Audrey.
And we all know
Always
that
where I belong.
we all know that other storage room is just your torture room.
Which
And
one?
that's the one that's next to you, so you can hear the screams of them from in there. When
No,
you're
that
not-
legit is storage. The storage and or freezer cell is where I put people and freeze them to see the effects of hypothermia and stuff. Let's not talk about it. Right?
Is that not a form of torture?
It can be. It depends on how
Uh-huh.
you look at it. I don't consider it torture because I'm not trying to get anything out of it, but information. So it's experimentation.
Mm-hmm. I love how in this office too. By the way, like even on the schematics, the women's restroom is nicer than the men's restroom.
Yeah, they got couches
Of
and
course
shit.
it is.
They have couches and a table.
Yeah, I
like
don't
we have
know why.
we have
but,
like a door that goes nowhere.
We have no shower though. That's true. Secret exit in the men's room.
We
I
all
see
have
it.
that one. Like, I swear, every like
So
sketchy
is
bathroom,
labeling. I don't
every
remember this being
sketchy
labeled.
bathroom has like
I
that
just
one
did it.
door
I
that
did
goes
it.
nowhere,
Oh, right.
or like it goes somewhere, and it's like, where does this door go? Like every sketchy bathroom I've been in has like an extra door, and I'm like, where does this door go?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a closet.
Usually, yes. But then sometimes it's like, but this nobody's obviously cleaning this, so why is there a closet?
It's for the bodies.
Exactly.
What do you mean, obviously? Aren't toilets clean regularly?
Not in sketchy bathrooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of
Alright.
gas station bathrooms are a little iffy, I will admit.
Okay. A lot different from Australia.
I'm sure. In the best way.
Somebody has to be.
need-
Okay.
Yeah, I need to go to Australia. Needs to.
Yes, you do.
I do.
Okay, so are you going to show her around then?
Well, that's what I went. We would have
Go
gone in
ahead.
there, and I didn't know if Doc would have said anything if we went in, but that's what.
I mean, you can. Let's do this.
Okay.
I need more info for my dossier.
All right. So I showed Audrey the conference room and the bureau area and what would probably be her office, which is why she's in there right now. All right. We've got two more places that you need to see. One is Doc's area, and then Zed's laboratory.
Oh, sure.
Okay,
He
show
gets
me
the
the way.
laboratory. Doc's area.
Well, I was going to say dungeon, but you said it wasn't a dungeon.
I like the puzzle pizza table, personally.
That is what I'm working on currently.
So this is Doc's work area. Watch your step. There is a floor drain, but
Oh dear.
I will say there is one body on one of the operating tables, but it is covered with a sheet.
It doesn't smell so pleasant in here.
no. He like
It's
touches
very
the sheet and
antiseptic, I will say that.
he touches the
Very
sheet and says,
hospital-like.
"Doc, you go all out in this company."
Doc's just going to spin in his chair slightly, holding onto a piece of pizza and a puzzle piece, and just stare at Spencer.
Doc, do you really think it's sanitary to be eating in your workplace with bodies?
Oh, yes. I everything is quite sanitary in here.
Okay.
Not to worry. I am, by any stretch of the imagination, a professional. This sounds so weird to say.
Continue on with eating.
He'll nod
So-
and just eat.
Usually try to knock before you come in, otherwise you might be very unpleasantly surprised.
Well, why didn't we?
Because I wanted you to be unpleasantly surprised.
Of course. Thanks, brother.
Well, if you want that, feel free to pull the sheet off of this body here.
Can we move on?
Oh, sure. One time when Mason used to drink, I found him asleep on one of those tables. I thought Doc had killed him.
Sure.
I can neither confirm nor deny that story.
I'm actually laughing at that. Oh my god.
Audrey shakes her head.
Oh wow.
I
So
always
much
said
fun.
he was going to be the death of me.
Wah, wah.
And this is Doc's laboratory. He's got all sorts of fun toys down here.
You mean
Dogs.
Z?
Excuse me?
I mean Zed. Zed. Oh, that one stuttered.
Blah, 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 blah. Zed.
Let me say that
Zed.
again. And down here is Zed's laboratory. He's got all sorts of fun things down here. Always making gadgets and such.
You will see as you look, Audrey, everybody else will be familiar with this, but for you, this will all be new. There is hatches and lockers all over the place. There is tool shelves and benches, and there is a massive gun range at the end of the hall.
Oh,
And
interesting.
You can see there is a room that's off from the main hall, and you hear somebody humming to themselves, something that sounds sort of like Moonlight Sonata. And as you hear this, Zed walks out, and he's like, kind of goes a little bit all prim, and goes, "Can I help you?
I was just showing my sister around.
Were you in need of anything?"
Not me.
Just curious.
I can show you some items that we are demonstrating if you'd like.
Oh, this is always fun.
Sounds good.
He smiles and says, "It's always best to treat our visitors with respect." And he walks over to a locker and opens it up and reaches in and pulls out something that looks like a tank. And there's a hose coming out of it. And it has a spray nozzle at the end of it. And he says, "Here, Spencer, you should show off for your sibling."
All right, I just kind of aim and pull the nozzle in.
Yes, just be aware you need to be a little closer and maybe behind. One moment. And he grabs Audrey's arm and he says, Come, miss. We must hide behind this little barrier here."
Okay.
And he drags you to what looks to be a barrier that has asbestos on the one side, and there's a glass window. And he says, "Fire when ready."
I must say, Zed, that I have the utmost confidence in you. However, the fact that you're hiding behind glass while I'm out here does not, make me feel so good.
He walks around the side of the barrier and looks over and says, "No, it's just for safety, just for safety. It's all good. You go
Hello,
ahead."
Doc. You gonna stand here with me?
He just nods and has his notebook out.
All right. Let her rip. And he pulls the nozzle, turns it on.
A jet of flame bursts out of the end of the nozzle. What you think of as sort of like a garden hose sort of affair, and a like a spray from a garden, like a watering can type idea. Just basically shoots flames across the room, and it hits the stand-up dummy that's there, and it melts on contact. And the flame was blue.
So the purpose of this is to torch people alive?
No. It's part of our jungle clearance mechanisms.
Zed
Some of
hates
our-
forests.
It's It's
Why would we be torching forests, may I ask?
well,
Yes, Zed, why would we be torching forests?
I've been under the impression that President Eisenhower is getting us involved in a little jungle mayhem, shall we say. Also, we did just have a war not long ago where we had to fight the enemy in jungles, on islands, and things of that nature where there was heavy undergrowth.
Touche. Continue.
I mean, it's a good thing that it's not for, secretly killing people. It's a bit bulky.
He smiles and says, yes, this is a first trial run, shall we say.
A prototype.
Indeed, miss, indeed.
You can
Good job.
say you can eventually make a smaller one of these, because I would really like one of those.
Well, I mean, what we're hoping to accomplish is to be able to put them on our jet fighters, to use as a bombing mechanism. But we're not entirely sure. We've got another chemical agent we're testing to do the very same thing. It is quite extreme, would be the word I would use.
And what is your backup plan?
Backup plan? Well, hopefully to have this work so that I don't have to make more of this kind of thing. It is rather dangerous, but failing that, we do have something which has been codenamed Agent Orange that they're working on.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Indeed, miss, indeed. I'm not a fan of this kind of thing, but we must be prepared. And he looks at you, Spencer, and says, how's the nozzle looking?
He turns it up and looks
Oh
inside.
dear.
The nozzle's kind of melted at this point.
I think it needs work, Zed.
Goodness. I guess it's a good thing you didn't burn yourself. Our last testy had some third-degree burn issues, so thank you. It's working better.
He just
You
kind of
didn't
narrows
think
his
to
eyes and
warn
then glances at Doc.
Doc just leaves.
I left the second Spencer just turned the nozzle up to look at it.
Well, I mean, it's in testing phase, my dear. It's not like he has to account for it if it breaks.
Okay. I think we should continue now.
I mean, it sounds terrible, but I can heal faster than most people now, so I understand. But still, Zed.
He looks up at you and says, oh, well, there is a bit of that as well. I did notice you were slightly singed 5 minutes ago, and now you appear to be fine.
I didn't even feel it, to tell you the truth.
No, of course you wouldn't. Your blood samples, by the way, continue to come back with an immaculate condition. You are a most lucky individual.
Well, thank you, Zed.
He smiles. He takes the canister away from you. As he goes to grab the nozzle part of it, he burns his hands and shouts a curse as he drops it on the ground. Holds onto the tank quite vigorously, however, and says, I think we'll let that cool down first before we do much more with it. And he sets it on the ground and then looks up at you both. Have a pleasant day. If there's anything you need, be sure to come back, won't you? Be aware, though, we have paperwork to fill out if you break anything.
Of course.
Audrey, before we go, is there anything you'd like for self-defense? Duck's very good at making interesting things. Watch. And he takes off. He's wearing he's wearing a fedora. And he takes it off and flings it at one of the mannequins, and it sinks in like it's a razor, like a metal razor blade. And then he goes back and he pulls it out, puts it back on his head.
I still think that's very derivative, but it is effective, if nothing else.
I like my weaponry to be stylish.
Pardon?
Is there anything you could suggest?
Yes, I very much could. One moment, please. And he walks over to yet another locker, opens it up with a clunk, and reaches in, and he pulls out what looks to be a small, like, purse-type clutch case. And he hands it to you and says, "There, my dear, if you look in there, you'll find something of use for you."
And what am I looking at?
As you open it, you'll see there's a handkerchief and a pair of white gloves. And he says, "If you give the handkerchief a shake, you'll find that it has some interesting properties, shall we say."
As I shake the handkerchief.
It goes completely stiff, like as if it's a piece of metal. And he says, "Now, if you were to clutch it in the middle, and as you do that, it then falls back into being just a light, fluffy piece of cloth." He said the gloves are completely fascinating as well. If you were to strap that around someone's mouth and nose, it would cut off their air completely. It, in fact, expands to cover their face.
Interesting. Maybe there's a test subject I could use it on.
Doc giggles, kind of smiles, looks darkly over at Spencer and says, "Well, that wouldn't be my decision, obviously. But I will say be careful with them, and should you find anything interesting about them, let me know."
Okay, thank you very much.
And he smiles and says, "You are most welcome, ma'am. And Spencer,
Yes,
you
sir.
will need to fill out a Form 52 when you are finished today. Thank you.
Fine.
It's not me that broke the cane.
Did you fix it?
It's under repair. The triggering mechanism alone takes an awful lot of time to repair after what you did to it. How did you get it under that wheel of that car anyway?"
They were trying to run me over, Zed.
It's not about you, you know. Sometimes this equipment is very expensive.
Blah
I'd like
blah.
it back before I have to leave, please. I may need it.
Whenever you can get the chance today, that would be of use for me, please.
I'll go fill it out right now.
He smiles and says, "Thank you." And at that, Zed turns away and heads back into his room.
That just goes back into Doc's area. I don't know that you want to go that way.
Okay. Where else shall we go?
We can go see Mason or Tabby, or if you'd like, you can see my office, although it's not spectacular.
Whatever you feel is fitting.
Let's go talk to Mason.
John, I'm going to page or yell for George.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to yell Ivan. Expectantly.
This young man comes to the door. He has tattoos up both of his arms. He was in the Merchant Navy in his younger day. And he looks at you and says, "Yes, sir?"
I hand him a small jar and I say, "Go give this to Spencer. ASAP."
"Yes, sir. Will do right now, sir."
Okay, it has an eyeball in it.
He doesn't even look twice. He just
All right.
takes it immediately. As you're walking across the main area, this young man comes up to you. "Spencer,
Oh, yes. I
Doc has asked me to pass this to you."
I'll take it.
Hands you the mason jar with an eye in it.
Now, Spencer, I will say this is not the first time you've received one of these. This is my way of telling you that I need to see you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I was either gonna say either he needs to see me or this is telling us he's keeping an eye on us, but I couldn't figure out which one it was.
That's quite alarming.
Alarming.
Oh, they are
wow.
siblings. No.
I hear that from wherever I'm standing, and I'm like, no, not another one.
Too late. Too late. Your desk is over here in the Latin American Bureau.
Oh,
By the way,
did you
Tabby.
say it was just for me or for me and Audrey?
I believe he just said it was for you, sir.
All right, Audrey, I won't subject you to more of Doc's office. And he's gonna knock on Mason's door. Mason, this is my sister Audrey. If you could keep her company, I'm going to go see what Doc wants.
Sure thing.
And I will head off with Ivan.
And with that, I think we'll have to pause for now and come back and find out what on earth is going on. And with that, let's start with M. Where can we find you on the line?
Me? I am probably... I'm just sitting at my desk, honestly, just reading some papers, waiting for some stuff to happen, everybody else's shenanigans, kind of listening to the gossip, that kind of thing.
Okay. And what Twitter handle do they want to contact you on?
Oh, me, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No problem. It's not my editing.
I'm so sorry.
It's all
I am
good.
so leaving that in there. I'm just gonna bleep out the swear.
That's fine.
You can find me at Father Orange, I think. I'm going to be in the shame corner.
And Rob.
You can
Rob.
find me on Twitter at Confessor_X, and you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ConfessorX.
And Devin.
You can find me on Twitter at DMP_Pookie.
And Kat.
You can find me on Twitter at Oshanic. That is OSHYNIC.
And Webby.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Jax Forest Walker, all one word.
And you can find me at LinsteadDM on Twitter. You can find everything we do at distractionsmedia.com. And of course, you can always find The Vendetta Effect and Fate of Heroes and our other podcasts that we do on this channel at facebook.com/Fate of Heroes. And let us know what you think of this season and the new people that we brought on board. Until next time, everyone, take care. Have a good day. Bye.
This has been a Distractions Media production. For more info, you can check out everything we do on distractionsmedia.com.